Let's talk about the next one. Because the last man standing match, where the last man standing pretty much couldn't stand up. I thought this was supposed to be a match. I didn't know they were going to do the football field and concourse thing for this also. Did I miss that, or did they just decide to do this? Was it advertised as a match and then they just decided to do the location fight?
I only saw it as a match, and before you even go any further, let me ask you, because I was trying to think of it and I couldn't come up with the answer. We just uploaded to the YouTube channel the video of your review for the tables match they had a couple weeks ago on Dynamite. I know they've been feuding. I know there was the incident where Hardy got busted open with the chair. He was trying to be friends with Sammy early on. Maybe they haven't. I don't remember. Have they had just a straight up one-on-one match without stipulations or anything?
I don't think so. Maybe they'll have that next week. It's a perfect blow-off match. No stipulations, just two guys wrestling. So they step. Matt's out near the football field. They're in the concourse of the empty arena. Sammy Guevara shows up in a golf cart, and I wrote more of this shit. And I don't even know how to comment on these matches, because they're not matches. So within a couple minutes, they're fighting around over the tables and the garbage cans and the whatever the fuck, and they get on top of a forklift. Was one of them, while they're fighting up there, was one of them operating it because the forklift starts going up?
I guess. I don't know.
So now they're both forklift experts. Would you know if you got on a forklift how to fucking raise a forklift up? Much less if you were in a fight at the time?
I've never been on a forklift, so I couldn't.
All right.
I have no idea.
So, because there's a table conveniently below there where there's all the masks that they're selling, all the fans that ain't coming in the building without masks, and they try to say, well, for the fans who come in without masks, well, there's 500 masks laid out. There's only 500 fucking fans allowed in the building, blah, blah, blah. They got a table there so that they can raise the forklift up and tease taking a bump off of it because everybody wants to see that. And then Sammy Guevara will spear Matt Hardy off the forklift and through the table, which he did. And they missed the fucking table. Well, they broke it with their lower bodies. The back of Matt Hardy's head hit from better than 10 feet up in the air on the concrete floor with Guevara on top of him. And he's motionless. And he's knocked the fuck out. And Ref Aubrey goes up and puts up the X. And then she starts a 10 count. And Matt, of course, because he's a wrestler, when he comes to some of his senses, is trying to get up and is staggering, and she puts up another X. And Matt's going to try to keep going because, as we've talked about with concussions before, we had Bobby Fulton on the show when he has finished several matches with concussions and then not remembered finishing the match or who his brother was. So just because a guy gets up and says, okay, I'm going to keep going, doesn't mean he should. Here comes Doc Sampson out, and they stop the match. And then Matt gets up and starts wandering around looking for Sammy Guevara, but they've already stopped it and announced it. Well, that's the way it is sometimes, folks, but it's better he can't continue. They went to the announcers saying this, and then after 3 or 4 minutes, they start the fight again. They've decided, Matt has probably told the doctor, I'm fine, I can do this. But they said he passed concussion protocol. And they start the fight again so that they can go immediately to a lighting tower that they climb up, and Matt's so shaky, Sammy has to help him. And then, so Sammy can get knocked off through a pre-planned crash area. He just takes a goddamn stuntman backwards bump into a pre-planned crash area that couldn't hurt him at all. But yet they were earlier going to take a bump off. And the thing is, think about this. If they had done the spear off the top of the forklift through the table right, it wasn't the finish. I am so confused and disgusted Yes, I know Matt would want to go out. They shouldn't have been up there to begin with. They ought to be in the goddamn ring where they're supposed to be. It's fucking ridiculous. Spears off the tops of forklifts. Now they got Matt Hardy doing shit that marks do, that idiots do, that amateur hour goofs do, that indie garbage deathmatch guys do, that stupid fucking bookers do with more goddamn ideas and money than they've got brains or sense. That nobody apparently that has any experience in this business will tell people not to fucking do, because you're a fucking idiot if you want to do that. And here's why. Because they all want to be cool and keep their job. Like anybody would want to work in this goddamn fiasco. So who knows whether Matt has brain damage, because the jury's still out on that, because several times in the rest of the program, they made mention, the announcers did, because they were told to, that, well, they only restarted that match because of the concussion protocol that Doc Sampson gave Matt Hardy, because they were already catching shit on fucking Twitter. And then they sent Matt Hardy to the hospital, where apparently the AEW word was, no, he's fine, no concussion. And the word from his wife was, it 1,000% was a concussion, and anybody with a fucking set of eyes can see that. So the jury's still out on whether they gave poor Matt Hardy brain damage to have another garbage match on a stupid Marks pay-per-view. What'd you think?
This was the moment that I really got taken out of the show. Like I said earlier, what you see affects what you see next. This changed the way I saw the rest of the show. I feel really bad for Matt Hardy, although I'm sure a lot of this was something he wanted to do. It was his ideas. But it was clear that he was fucked up. I mean, it was...
He couldn't even stand up.
He couldn't stand up. You saw him on the ground. He looked messed up.
And when he did stand up, then his rubber-legged and he fell back down. And that wasn't working or selling.
Beyond just the X, just watching the body language on Aubrey, you could tell she knew something was wrong. And they finally ended it, and I was happy. I was like, oh, you know what? Good. You know, this guy does not need to be doing anything right now. And then they sent him back out to do the finish, which just seems like the most irresponsible decision you could make. And I think AEW looks like shit here. Because even people who love AEW were pointing out how this is bullshit here. The guy was clearly messed up. If he passed the concussion protocol, there's something wrong with your doctor and his protocol.
Well, for fuck's sake, the only instant protocol, here, let me look in your fucking eyes. Is your pupils dilated? Yes, no, maybe, well, we don't know.
Are you concussed? No. Okay, get back out there. That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. AEW got a lot of shit, and they deserve it. After the Darby spot, which was incredibly reckless, then this happens in front of everybody, and then Matt's wife goes on Twitter. Obviously, she's concerned. She's watching it at home. This was really bad.
Well, and that Darby Allin spot was completely different and even stupider, because he wanted to do that. See these fucking Mark skateboard dive off high building stupid fucks. They think that's cool, and if they're tractioned or paralyzed or whatever, it's like, oh, well, yeah, you know, because life sucks anyway, but we did it for art or whatever the fuck. But with this here, you've got one of your only fucking name professionals. And instead of putting him in the ring where he can teach some of these guys something, and Sammy's got a lot of potential if he don't kill himself, you're having them have the same kind of garbage match that all the rest of these jackoffs you've been conned into signing can have. Why sign fucking real pros and don't let them get in the ring? So it's stupid on every account.